Good afternoon, Crimson Tide Nation, and welcome to the 13th edition of Alabama Crimson Tide Live, right here on Alabama at the Voice of College Football. And this week is Oklahoma Week, and in honor of that, we have it simulcast on Oklahoma at the Voice of College Football. And of course, it's simulcast on the Voice of College Football ads account and on my personal ads account, of course. And let me tell you something, we've got a huge, exciting lineup this afternoon for you to help Johnny and I preview the Alabama-Oklahoma matchup. And of course, we'll be starting to show off with a little recap of Alabama-Mercer and how it and the SEC title race, so on and so forth. But don't worry, we'll be quick. And let me tell you, folks, it's going to be a wild ride. How you doing today, Johnny?
I've been busy, man. Busy, but glad to be here and glad to finally settle in for the evening. But I've been doing honeydew jobs all day long. Don't tell Elena.
I won't.
But I'm good. Good. Excited to be here.
Oh, man. So Saturday was, of course, a dominating victory. And, the SEC title race, I mean, we didn't necessarily need to beat Mercer, but of course, it's always good to do that all the same. So what I've got here is some articles from our friend at the Voice of College Football, Bill Bender.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got an article about the SEC tiebreaker. And he's talking about what we need to do to get in the SEC title game. Now, Georgia beat Tennessee. That helps them quite a lot. What does Alabama have to do? Well, we got to win out against Oklahoma and Auburn, right? I wouldn't exactly call them easy opponents. I mean, some people go, oh, well, they're easy. They're easy. It's like, yeah, we thought that against Vanderbilt, and it bit us in the rear.
Yeah. It's the new age of college football. Forget the past year and thinking you've got everybody coming back and you're going to reload and have another successful season. The portal's changed that. Every team starts anew every year. So it's going to get a little, it's already, but it'll keep getting a little more, I don't know, dynamic, changing every week. So who knows what's going to happen.
Wow. One thing that's really helping us is that winning percentage. And this is where the Georgia win really comes in handy because we have a total of 509 as a winning percentage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we definitely Georgia helped us out, helped themselves, but definitely helped us with that win. And good Lord, Texas A&M, they'll be up. Interesting on that one. We'll see. Who knows? I mean, I've tried to look and study these analysis with the play. I mean, the SEC championship, who's in, who's out, and that kind of stuff. And good Lord, I'm just going to I'm going to close my eyes and just wait till the last Saturday after the Alabama Auburn game and then try to decide it. Because if I start thinking about it now, it's just going to drive you crazy because every week it changes.
Well, I can tell you right.
The old days, we kind of had an idea going in at this time of the year, but today,
well, I know a little something that's not going to drive us crazy.
Mm-hmm.
The disputed national champions of the 90s, College Football's Historical Reset, written by Mark Rogers himself. And in this book, you'll learn about what happened in the 90s, how the decade changed the sport, why the championship results should be questioned, how to correctly think through the scenarios. And you want to grab your copy right now, especially for the holiday season this Christmas, because I'm going to tell you, it is the must-get, the must-read book of the year for the college football fan in your life. I'll tell you something, folks. I know it's a must-read for me, and it's a must-read for Johnny. And it's a must-read for all of us. Tell your friends, your family, and the cashiers at Publix about the magic that Mark Rogers brings in the book. Disputed National Champions, College Football's Historical 1990s Reset. Stay tuned.
Wives, do your husbands give them a nice little gift for Christmas. Your hubby will love reading that one.
Oh, there we go. He is So we've got some exciting guests for you helping us with the Oklahoma preview. The first set of guests, one of them is the publisher of Sooners at SI. He is the one and only himself, John Hoover. And he is the co-publisher of OU Insider, a co-host of KREF Sports, and the publisher of Minor Insider for Rivals.com, the one and only Parker Thune, and a very good. And these two guys are very good friends of the Voice of College Football, and these are the go-to for Oklahoma football. Stay tuned for more on their takes. How you doing today, gentlemen?
Fantastic.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Good word.
Eager to be on the same platform as Hoove again. You know, we were mentioning before the show started, we were co-workers many moons ago. This goes back almost 4 full years now, and we would podcast together twice a week. But I think this is the first time since then that we've been featured on the same platform at the same time.
You know, Parker, you could have me on your show anytime you want.
That is true. Maybe I'll do that.
Come on, I'm always open, man. I'm always good for you.
Let's do it, baby. All right. So this is going to become a regular thing is what it sounds like.
That'd be great. That'd be awesome. Yeah. Hey, guys, thanks for having us on. We appreciate it. It's going to be a fun week.
Well, thank you for coming on, gentlemen. It's an honor talking with you guys. And I wanted to go over a little bit about the series history for a little bit. And, you know, there's the 1963 Orange Bowl where JFK showed up to the game. And then you got the 1970 Blue Bonnet Bowl where it was a 17-17 tie. And I believe Alabama was wearing the white helmets for that game. That's a rarity. And of course, there's the 2014 Sugar Bowl. Oklahoma drubbed Alabama that game. And Alabama won their last matchup in the Orange Bowl 2018. But now, for the first time in series history, it's a conference game. How do you feel about that?
Well, this is the game that Oklahoma fans have been pointing to on the schedule since day one, since, June 7th? Was it something like that? July of 2021, I guess. July of 2021 when the news broke that Oklahoma and Texas were joining the SEC. This is the game, guys. Oklahoma-Alabama week. It's 2 heavyweights. It's 2 blue bloods. And one's having a better season than the other. One is more SEC ready than the other. But, this is still the one. Of all the games Oklahoma's played already, this is the one that they've had circled since day one.
Yeah, you know, we were all hopeful going into the season that this was going to be an all-out brawl between 2 of the most historic programs in college football. And preseason, you would have looked at Oklahoma as a team that was expected to get it all together in year 3 under Brent Venables. And, of course, there was that sense of mystery surrounding what the post-Nick Saban era looked like at Alabama. How quickly was Kalen DeBoer going to win big there? How quickly was he going to be able to replicate Saban's consistent success, not in the sense of winning national championships, but in the sense that you're winning 10, 11, 12 games every single year, bare minimum, as was the expectation out for 17 seasons under Nick Saban's direction. So preseason, you would have figured this is going to be a very evenly matched game between 2 very evenly matched opponents that will probably have college football playoff implications. It's just not that. So a little bit of the punch has been taken out of it, if you will, but certainly still a football game that everybody is going to enjoy in the moment on Saturday, that everybody's been looking forward to. And one of those matchups that's just good for college football, and it's cool that we get to have it in an in-conference setting.
I was going to mention y'all because Jack brought it up. Y'all, if y'all remember way back when Coach Bryant used to have some of his players wear white helmets. Y'all remember that? Are y'all familiar with that? During the game, literally. And Jack, you brought it up when Alabama was playing Oklahoma in the white helmets. But you know why Coach Bryant did that? All right, and he did it quite a lot. But his deal was whenever he played against another team like Alabama and Oklahoma and they wore the same color helmets, he was afraid his quarterback. So what he did is he changed the receivers or whatever helmets to white as the contrasting color, and that's why they wore the white helmets at times. at times. I didn't know that. My father-in-law played at Alabama for Coach Bryant. He was a quarterback, and he told me that, and then I wondered, and then it made sense.
That's funny. I've heard that for a lot of years. I was a small college football reporter back in, what would that have been, 1993, and there was an old school guy who was a former coach, and the other team kept throwing touchdowns against his team, and we were standing over there on the sideline, and he's just like, they got them damn white helmets on. That's why they're completing all these passes. And I thought, they're completing the passes because your DBs are falling down. Just a theory. Just a theory.
Yeah. But they literally did it. They did it for a while. He would have the receivers wear contrasting colors on their helmets. And so I don't know if it worked or not, but who knows? I don't. That's the reason he did it.
Oh, man. But wanted to go over a little bit about the 2024 season. Unfortunately, it's not been one of the best exactly. Oklahoma is at 5-5, and the bad part is their bowl eligibility streak, which dates back to 1999, is at stake. Last two games are Alabama, and you got to go to LSU.
What's going on? Excuse me, Jack. What's going on in the offense out there?
It's a combination of a lot of things. A lot of injuries, particularly at the wide receiver position and along the offensive line, which, if you can't string together an effective offensive line, that does not set you up well for success on that side of the football. The Sooners' top 5 wide receivers on the depth chart have all missed substantial time throughout the season. In fact, 3 of them have been out for the year. And so it's just been very, very difficult for this offense to get in a rhythm when there's been so much shifting up front to try and find an answer on the offensive line. I believe they're at something like 8 or 9 different starting combinations in 10 games on the offensive line. And they just don't really have anybody that they can consistently rely on in the passing game to be an every down threat at all 3 levels. Certainly nobody. You think of the great wide receivers in years past at Oklahoma, a guy like CeeDee Lamb springs to mind. The Sooners don't have anybody available right now that is a fraction of the player that CeeDee Lamb was for some of those great Oklahoma offenses of the late 2010s. Quarterback play has been suspect. Management of the quarterback position at the staff level has been suspect as well. Just a combination of a lot of very unfortunate factors for this football team that has contributed to their middling campaign to this point.
I looked up on NCAA stats today. I looked up because I was trying to figure, just see if there was anything in the statistics. And then you were talking about the offensive line, and I looked, and Oklahoma is dead last in giving up sacks.
It's bad.
Number 133. And I was like, oh my gosh. And if your quarterback can't get his feet set and he's constantly getting, right under the chin, I figured there was something going on with the offensive line.
Yeah, and that's a two-pronged thing when you think about it. Without your wide receivers out there who know what they're doing, you're gonna need more time to hold the football. You're gonna need more time to deliver the football. He doesn't have more time. Jackson Arnold, 13 turnovers in his, I think, 8 or 9 career starts now. He does not have that time because that offensive line is just they replaced 5 starters with 5 transfers, and it has not worked. They've filtered some sophomores and some redshirt freshmen in there and some other guys who it's just nothing they've tried has worked. Like Parker said, 8 different lineups in 10 games. And that's something that if you're Jackson Arnold, or, take it back to Seth Luttrell, the offensive coordinator. What was he supposed to do without any wide receivers and with a patchwork offensive line? Nothing he was going to do was going to work. But he did call some strange game plans, some strange play connections and things like that. Just didn't work. So they had to fire their coordinator at midseason. And you guys, you got to remember, they're doing all of this, no receivers, new offensive line, coordinator that hadn't coached quarterbacks before. They're doing all of this against what analytics, I think, this week, or maybe it was last week, determined was the hardest schedule in college football, what Oklahoma was playing against this year. So just a bad combination for OU this year.
Yeah, that's portal's doing that to a lot of teams. Some teams are surprising. Vanderbilt, portal helped them.
Yeah.
Other teams, I mean, you're trying to build a team every year. And I mean, it's pot luck. I mean, who knows? I mean, you could be great one year and terrible the next. So.
Well, I've always said that the way to go, when you're down, the only way to go is up. So maybe there's good days ahead for the Sooners for the rest of this year. We don't know yet, but
As long as it's not this week.
No, but
not this week.
But I wanted to go over a little bit about the players to watch for. For those who haven't watched Oklahoma all season up to this point, gentlemen, who are the players to watch for on defense and on offense and on special teams?
Parker, you start us off.
Okay. It's easy to start on the defensive side of the ball because the Sooners have actually played pretty well.
Yeah,
that side of the ball has been a strength for Oklahoma under the direction of first-year defensive coordinator Zach Alley. One guy that has really pleasantly surprised as a true freshman is defensive tackle Jaden Jackson. And, it can be difficult to gauge a defensive tackle's impact on a game because their stat lines are never going to be obscene. They're never going to rack up tackles or sacks or anything that shows up in the box score. But Jaden Jackson has been a guy that throughout the season has proven to be a continual disruptor on the interior for Oklahoma. R. Mason Thomas, their outstanding edge rusher, leads the team in sacks by a country mile, especially in very obvious passing situations. That guy just has a knack for getting to the quarterback. We've seen it time and again this year. 3 sacks in the fourth quarter against Tulane, 2 against Auburn on their final possession to help clinch that victory, or penultimate possession, excuse me. But he's a guy that has come up big when the Sooners have really needed him at times throughout the season. And then, of course, the heart and soul of that defense is linebacker Danny Stutzman, who's going to be an early round NFL draft pick come April, continuing to work his way up amongst the school's all-time leaders in tackles. He had 19 of them against Missouri. He can go sideline to sideline as well as any linebacker in college football, covers a ton of ground, reliable tackler, and he can hold his own in pass coverage as well. He's demonstrated some liability at times there. It hasn't been consistently excellent, but in pass coverage, he's more than capable of stepping back, getting a hand on a football, even coming up with an interception. He had a pick 6 last year against Tulsa. So a very complete football player there at the center of Oklahoma's defense. The guys that they're really, really missing right now, and this goes back to the injury conversation, junior cornerback Gentry Williams was easily the best option that this program had at that position. He was lost for the year in week 2. And then the nickel position that they call Cheetah at Oklahoma belonged to senior junior college transfer Kendall Dolby, who was quietly one of the most reliable dudes on either side of the football for Oklahoma. Dislocated his ankle against Tennessee in week 4. That required surgery, and he's done for the year. So if those guys were on the field, they would certainly be worth watching, but that's kind of the story of the 2024 season for Oklahoma. Some of your absolute best football players not available.
Yeah, I'll double down on Stutzman. First team All-SEC linebacker. He's going to be probably a second team All-American linebacker. He's a Butkus Award finalist, or should be. So he's, like Parker said, the heart and soul of the defense. I got the easy side here, guys. I got the offense. I'll take the offense here. Who are the bright spots for the offense? Well, Javonte Barnes is a running back who had 200 yards against Maine. Xavier Robinson is a true freshman running back who came off the bench and was the best player on the field all of a sudden, out of nowhere, basically out of red shirt when they should have beaten Missouri. And then their leading receiver is actually a tight end, Bauer Sharp, FCS transfer, converted quarterback from Southeastern Louisiana. He's averaging 7.5 yards a carry, 7.5 yards a catch. So that tells you a little bit about where this offense is. Everybody wants to see the 5-star Jackson Arnold, but he's not he's probably not the marquee player on this offense. I don't know that there is a marquee player on this offense.
To those that say Oklahoma should have done everything in their power to keep Dylan Gabriel, keep him happy, What do you say to that, gentlemen?
It just wasn't happening. And it's easy to play armchair quarterback with the benefit of hindsight. And obviously with the benefit of hindsight, you would conclude, oh yeah, absolutely. Dillon Gabriel is a far superior option to Jackson Arnold. How in the world did they let that guy walk? It was kind of understood that Dillon Gabriel's last season at Oklahoma was going to be 2023. It was stated by not only Brent Venables, but his offensive coordinator, Jeff Lebby, and Gabriel himself repeatedly throughout the season. The expectation was that he was going to go to the NFL draft, and it lined up very well because Arnold was going to take that freshman year to learn behind Gabriel, and then the belief was he'd be ready to lead this offense into the 2024 campaign as their starter. And ultimately, Gabriel gets to the end of the season. His NFL draft grade is not what he would like. He idolized Marcus Mariota growing up, as many kids from Hawaii do, especially those that play the quarterback position. And so he had his sights set on Oregon. Oklahoma, they could have absolutely, if they had felt that it was an absolute necessity to get Dillon Gabriel back on the roster for 2024, I believe that they could have made a greater effort to keep him around. But at the time, it just seemed like, okay, he wants to go to Oregon. We're not going to fight him on it because we have this 5-star kid that just sat the bench his freshman year. We let him take his time, didn't rush him onto the field. He is and should be our guy in 2024 and beyond. There was no reason to doubt that with Jackson Arnold at the time. It's just at the end of the day, sometimes it doesn't work out with a kid that you have every reason to believe is going to be really, really good. And there's certainly many pages of the Jackson Arnold storybook that are yet unwritten. He's not done as a college football player. I don't think anybody's writing him off, but certainly you look at the struggles that Oklahoma has had offensively in 2024, and you can safely conclude they would have been mitigated with Dillon Gabriel at the helm. It's just, I come back to the reality that it just was not happening for so many reasons. Gabriel wasn't coming back to Oklahoma in 2024. And so it's a nice thought, and it's the right thought. You see a quarterback struggle in his first year as a starter, you figure, how on earth did they let the veteran walk? But they had every reason to at the time.
One thing we don't know is whether Dillon Gabriel had a crystal ball and could see the 5 receivers being injured to start the season and a brand new offensive line with no cohesiveness and a new coordinator that had no experience coaching quarterbacks. He left before the bowl game last year. He decided to go, and then he picked Oregon, not out of a hat. He knew where he was going. So that whole thing, it makes you wonder if he was the quarterback right now. Everybody's saying, boy, we wish Dillon Gabriel was our quarterback. Yeah, I bet you do, but he might not be healthy enough right now to finish the season behind this offensive line and with this group of receivers. So everything worked out, not to the best, certainly for Oklahoma, but Dillon Gabriel, whose mother, by the way, went on a radio station and said he's leaving to give Jackson Arnold a shot. His shot to give Jackson Arnold the spotlight. So who knows if that's 100% grounded in truth and reality. We think it is. We have no reason to think it's not. But that's just another thing. Another factor at play here is his willingness to leave, his willingness to say, "Here you go, Jackson. You were a great understudy for 1 year. You take it. I'm gonna go to Oregon."
Yeah, and then you factor in the offensive line that sacks leading the country, and as a quarterback, young quarterback, the game's already speeding up in your thought processes, and then you're trying to get set up, and you're constantly everywhere you turn, bam, 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 and it just no rhythm, just a mess for a young quarterback, and what's going through his mind as the game speeds up, and his trying to make progression reads and stuff like that, and then you can't get your feet set, you can't operate in that fast tempo scenario with the defensive line just constantly in your face. Young kid, it's a tough position.
Yeah, all 100% true what you just said.
I always say, you hear those footsteps. So you're back there and you got that ball and you're trying to do whatever. And you're closing in.
Right now. I bet that's a nightmare for him. So we'll see how it plays out these next 2 weeks, guys.
Are they moving the pocket any? Are they keeping him in the pocket, or are they moving the pocket?
They move the pocket some.
More of the latter now with the new offensive coordinator. I say the new offensive coordinator. They called their tight ends coach up to call plays. So it's kind of a new offensive coordinator.
We always work with regard to that. If they're closing in, you don't have a secure pocket, then we're going to, bootleg. We're going to do a lot of different ways in which to move the pocket and change the angles and stuff like that. So that's good to see. But it depends on how good a thrower he is on the run and how he can read on the run instead of a pocket passer reading that way. And now all of a sudden you got to move, and when you're throwing on the run, it's a altogether different game. Everything speeds up with regard to the head, and you gotta really look. We always say throw it where they ain't, and then if you're in out of the pocket, now everybody's moving with you, and so you kind of miss those guys that are way over here, and now they're just kind of creeping in.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what goes on Saturday in Norman, Oklahoma on Saturday on ABC.
What time's the kickoff?
6:30 p.m. Central Time on
ESPN, isn't it?
Yeah, ABC.
Is it the ABC?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. I did the story on the LSU game today. That's ESPN. That's right.
Yeah.
Two different games, 2 different weeks.
It's all right, man. Love the story, by the way. It was awesome. Matter of fact, that's why I found out Oklahoma LSU was going to be on what network they were going to be on for rivalry week.
There you
Still
go.
don't like that Oklahoma LSU's on rivalry week, but whatever, I guess.
We'll blame Joe Burrow.
Yeah. I hope y'all beat LSU, honestly.
LSU's reeling. I'll tell you what. I would.
They are. Yeah, 3 in a row.
Oh, coach, you know how they are down there. Hey, they ain't got a lot of patience down there.
No.
Things go south in a hurry.
Oh, yeah. It kind of feels like there's Jimbo Fisher vibes with Brian Kelly at LSU. Like, maybe that's just me.
I always thought it was a strange hire anyway. Brian Kelly, down in Louisiana, it was just, I don't know, Notre Dame, Louisiana. It was, anyway.
Well, you could have said the same for Nick Saban, and he won a title there.
Yeah, I know. I kind of knew, everybody knew Saban was going to win wherever he went. And so everybody in Alabama was like, yeah. Excited after all we'd gone through and stuff like that. He had been a proven winner. We had played against him at LSU, so everybody was kind of excited about that. But anyway.
Well, before we let you go, because we got another set guest, and we want to keep you past 20 minutes, but what are the keys to victory for Oklahoma, gentlemen?
Oh, that's easy. Don't give the football to Alabama in a short field situation, especially. And for once in your life, for the love of God, for the love of Sooner fans everywhere, they want you to hit a big play. They want to see a 65-yard touchdown pass. You do those two things, you got a chance.
Yeah, and that's what it's about right now. It's about giving yourself a chance, and the only way Oklahoma gives themselves a chance on Saturday is to avoid turnovers, to contain Jalen Milroe, because he is as capable as anybody in college football getting outside the pocket and doing some dangerous things with his legs. And then you have to get in some sort of rhythm offensively, whether that's on the ground, whether that's through the air. You have to find something that works, and you have to stick with it. That's the only thing that's going to give you a chance.
Long drives. Offense got to maintain the ball. And I was looking at their third down conversion rate for the season, around 35%. And so got to keep Alabama's offense off the field. But that means long drives.
Yep, couldn't agree more.
And that keeps the crowd in it. And, good crowds in Norman.
Yeah. It's always a fun game in Norman. And do you have a score prediction for that game, or do you want to wait a couple days?
Yeah, we put ours out on Friday, so I'll wait till Friday. But, so 14-point spread right now, Alabama by 14. I can see it somewhere around that line. I don't think that's asking too much, even against a really good Oklahoma defense.
I would take – I don't have an exact score in mind yet, but I would take Alabama to win and cover at this point.
Well, one way to go when you're down, way to go is up. That's the moral of the night for Sooner Nation.
go up through the portal. We'll buy you some players.
Do a little mix in of both. Like make sure you keep winning on the recruiting trail, but also make sure you're winning on the portal trail as well. Just don't take that guy from UNLV that was leaving.
I'm gonna tell you, I don't look at the high school anymore. I look at the portal. I mean, that's where you're gonna build your team, out of the portal.
Well,
we'll see. Brent Venables got a job to do for sure.
Oh yeah, he's got a humongous job. For sure. And 5 Adams says, I hope LSU loses all remaining games so Bama can get into Louisiana recruiting. Well, I feel like LSU is going to underachieve more with less. And he also says he thought Oklahoma would beat Texas. I thought that would be a tighter game, but it wasn't. But it is what it is, I guess. I think Texas had revenge on their mind all year. And Sports Talk with Austin says 38-17. Bama defense has a big day. This guy Draymond says, no matter how good a team looks, if you don't show up to play, then that team will lose. Yeah. Yeah, that is a no. And you can check out John Hoover on Sooners on SI. He is a top-notch publisher on Sooners on Sports Illustrated. I mean, he is one of my go-tos for information on Oklahoma Sooners football, and so is Parker Thune, the co-publisher of Sooner of here we go, OU Insider at Rivals, and he's on KREF Sports at noon through 3 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Well, I can tell you this, though. It's a go-to, and I recommend you all go to it. And we've got our net. Huh?
Good meeting you guys, too. Appreciate y'all having us on.
Thank you for coming on, gentlemen, and y'all stay safe, stay warm. It's cold out.
Not in Alabama.
Or in Oklahoma, I guess.
It's pretty chilly here.
Uh-oh.
Not in Alabama.
Get a bunch of long sleeve stuff out. Wrap yourselves up in blankets. And we've got our next set of guests. He is the co-host of Unfair Sports, the one and only himself, Eric Cooper, and he is the host of the PG show, the one and only Preston Gant. Gentlemen, how are y'all doing?
Fan-freaking-tastic. Kind of like we talked in the before we came on, we were saying that it's kind of remorseful that we can't have this game. It's with Sooner fans have been looking forward to this game for quite a while, and I think over the past couple of weeks, obviously, everything just kind of the truth is what the truth is with this offense just not being able to go out and function at a decent level. It's not going to lead to the great game that we're looking for, but still, it's a fun matchup. I mean, Oklahoma is extremely disappointing this year. Alabama is not exactly living up to the hopes of the fans, and it's still a 7:00 game on ABC. So I mean that just shows you what those brands, even when they're not at their tip top, what they're worth.
Yeah. It's just not been – it's been kind of an underwhelming season, although it feels like it's 2007 2.0 for all of college football.
There's it's going into this year, I think that one of the things that I was preaching was there is so much change happening across the SEC in all these big teams, and now you add in the 12-team playoff, and how does that, how do coaches coach? Do you have a little bit more patience with development? And then also, I think with the transfer portal, it doesn't. I think that hearing from the last segment with Hoover and Thune, sometimes those things just don't work out. Coach Burks, I think you said it too. Is you can get yourself a good set of guys that looked like solid bookend tackles from a Big Ten team, and they come here and it's just they are nowhere even close to functional. Whereas you got other teams who, like BYU and other teams that have been around together for a long time, and now BYU just loses their first game finally this past weekend. So it's a crazy year in college football.
Most certainly
Well,
is.
Well, the portal. The problem with the portal is, you're dealing with young 18, 19, 20-year-olds. Now, I mean, we might as well call it free agency because that's basically what it is. But in free agency and the pros, I mean, you've got guys that have proven, they've got the college experience. Now they've played in the pros 2, 3, 4 years. And so, when you bring that guy in that first year, he's going to produce. Proof's in the pudding. He's done it his entire career. But here in college football, and you bring somebody in, expect all this great stuff because they had success at this school. Now they're here, and you expect it. And it's unrealistic because these 19, 20, 21-year-old kids. And so the dynamic there is it's a recipe for some teams having great success, and then for other teams just it's hit and miss. Now that's the way they want it. Now, I've said this: if you want some continuity and some sanity with regard to it, instead of immediately being eligible and that kind of stuff, make them sit out a year. Like back when I played, if you transferred, you had to sit out 1 year. And so if they did that, I mean, that would stabilize everything. But just letting a 19, I mean, you got guys, been at 5, 6, 7 different teams. Well, you got the guy Vanderbilt suing because he doesn't want that junior college whatever year to count. I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah, we saw guys like JT Daniels, who was on 5 or 6 separate teams, anywhere from USC to Georgia Tech, and then what do you have? I mean, you've got guys. The Oklahoma State quarterback's sitting here at 26 years old. He's just continuing to fight for eligibility, and I think he can actually go for one more year next year, I think. But it is crazy. I mean, the transfer portal, just because of the fact that some of these guys are the best of the best, especially in the D1, the upper D1, and it's hard for somebody who has been the best football player on his team since he was 5 to all of a sudden come to college and have to sit behind somebody and, be able to just take a step back and look at it and go, all right, this isn't a journey. This is a journey. This is a journey. All they see is, man, I'm not starting here. I'm going to go somewhere where I can start. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be coaches looking for somebody who, measured great out of high school and has the great measurables, and you're going to go fire him on there. And, now it's your make or break with this kid because he hasn't played football in a year and he couldn't beat out the guy at his previous stop. And so that's a big risk for a lot of these coaching staffs to kind of take in there because, there's whether it's Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, when free agents typically get paid, a lot of them have trouble reaching that same level of success after that point because they got what they were driving for. And it's hard to find the next thing to drive for in some of these cases. And that's those are adults. I mean, like you said, these are 18 to 22-year-old kids in most cases.
Preston, you're kind of like Silent Bob on the Clerks movie, man.
I'm looking.
This year has broken. It's broken, Preston. This year has broken PG.
It has broken me.
And he's a new father, guys. I don't know if you know that. PG new father as of the past couple of months. Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Boy or girl?
It's a girl. Girl.
What'd you name her?
Griffin.
Griffin. Cool.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah. So now I was telling them, Coop, earlier, I said I grew up in the golden age of Oklahoma football. So it's not like the Royals and the Knicks where you just expect to lose every year. Like this is reverse, and I just don't know how to deal with it.
Trust me, it's we've all been there. This was rough, and I think that even Alabama fans, it's going to take longer for you all to kind of realize, truly realize what you just lived through for the past decade with Saban, because everybody else, I mean, everybody has submitted, all people, all the big time programs submitted that Saban's the GOAT, like he is the greatest of all time. Like nobody at Oregon or Oklahoma or Ohio State, in a right mind is going to say anything against that. And so it's hopefully you guys realize, because his I guess just methodology. It's hard when that's not your program and that's not your franchise that you root for. It's hard to acknowledge that a lot of the time. If you weren't a Tom Brady, if you weren't a Patriots fan, you hated Tom Brady. If you weren't a Bulls fan, you hated Michael Jordan. But then you step back and you go, oh, holy shit, I probably should pay attention a little bit more, because I may never see this again.
Yeah, because I mean, like, you ask anybody in this age what it was like seeing the Patriots before Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
They couldn't tell you a daggum thing. Or, some people, you ask them about Alabama before Nick Saban, they could possibly tell you what it was like. Fortunately, yeah. I mean, fortunately, Johnny and I were old enough to remember the dark ages.
I met Coach Bryant. I got his autograph. Tall guy. He was tall, like 6'5". He was tall.
Wow.
Yeah, I got to see it twice. It's going to be harder and harder, like you're saying, in the future, because everything changes every year. And I mean, now coaches aren't going to really be coaches. They're just going to be, just chief executive at whatever, running, the program, because it's going to constantly be this turnover. And 1 year it's going to be, this, next year, seeing a team just dominate year after year after year, or let's just say right now, 5 teams, because over the last, whatever, it's always, it seems to be 5 teams. Now, I mean, anybody can go out and buy them a team.
Yeah.
You got some booster out there. Somebody's got the money. Go buy you a team. But
Doesn't
what I
always
want
work out, though. Go ask Jimbo.
What I want to do is I want to be able to put these guys on waiver. I want to put, cut them in mid-season, go get somebody else. I mean, if it's going to be, hey,
waiver wire
to come in and be all this and that, and you're doing nothing for us. Hey, cut them and bring somebody else in. If we're going to play, if we're going to free
or
agent,
a trade,
trade.
Yeah.
Well, let's do it.
Yeah, dude, trade deadline works for me.
Yeah. So anyway.
Something more for these head coaches to do instead of coach, right?
Yeah, the old days of being, and going out there and coaching. Oh, you don't like it? Hit the road, Jack. Now you're coddling them. Oh, we're gonna stay. We want, it's crazy.
Well, we're looking at the Alabama-Oklahoma match. I forgot to mention 2002, 2003. I mean, I forgot to mention that was where Oklahoma had some huge wins in the series history. But of course, we're in this season, the first time that this is a conference matchup in series history. And
strange, weird.
Never
really
I think
thought
it's actually pretty cool seeing Alabama-Oklahoma as a conference matchup.
Yeah,
it is. It is, and I mean, we're still getting used to it. Like I still kind of smile every time I go to try to filter out on ESPN.com, teams by conference, and I get to go to SEC, and that's where I get to find Oklahoma. And I mean, so like it's still, I mean, like I said, this is still your primetime game on ABC, and that game's not there on accident. They know that the eyeballs are still going to be there, even knowing what this fan base is currently and kind of where our heads are at. We're kind of on to 25 already. It's I don't think very many of the I don't think very many people in the fan base, if any of them, think there's a chance to win. You usually have the cycle of I guess delusion, would you say, PG, where you end the game, we do the game breakdown, the morning after, we talk through it all day Sunday, and typically by midweek you're like, you know what, there's a chance that we can win this coming week. I don't think that we're hitting that part of the circle this week. I think every Oklahoma fan, every content guy is expecting Oklahoma to lose.
I have to keep reminding myself that Oklahoma's going to lose. Like I have started to somewhat slip back into that now that we've had a whole week to sit through the bye week to think Oklahoma might have a chance. But
That's gotta hurt.
yeah, no, I have to
You
remind myself Oklahoma's going
guys
to lose
gotta
this
be
game.
hurting.
It
I know the
It-
feeling. You guys gotta be hurting.
It's and, to be honest with you, even 2 years ago when Brent Venables' first year went 6-7, this is somewhat of a punishment. We went into OU Texas in 2020, Lincoln's last year with Caleb Williams, and nobody was happy. We were undefeated. We ended up, really there's a lot of different theories and ideologies around what happened at the end of that season. Brent Venables comes in that first season. We go 6-7. There weren't games in that season, PG, not that I can recall, to where you went into the game going, no, there's zero chance we're winning this game. There's not a chance we're winning this game. Like when we played Alabama in the Sugar Bowl, I almost didn't watch the game because I was like, there's no point to watch this game. And I got made fun of. I still to this day get made fun of by some of my closest friends because I decided I had zero hope or zero faith. I feel less confident this week than I did going into that game.
Well, in the world of college
it's hard to have
football-
any confidence.
Go ahead.
On offense, because of offense, and that's it. It's hard to find. You cannot find any confidence. Literally, this offense is not like there's an offense that can maybe put a couple touchdowns here and there throughout the game, but we'll turn the ball over and just not do enough. That's like a meh offense. Like if we leveled up 4 times, we would get to meh offense. Like this offense is just so bad and has been so bad at times to where, we've gone on multiple occasions this year. We have gotten turnovers on defense and then turn around and turn the ball back over on offense on the very next snap. It's happened multiple times. Back-to-back in one game and back-to-back in another game. We gave up 9 sacks against South Carolina, which was a school record, and then followed up the next week with giving up 10 to Ole Miss. And that was a game going into halftime. That was the last probably spark of hope that I think Sooner fans had, was coming out of halftime of Ole Miss. And so, it's a tough place to be, just because it's nobody's coming back through that door from injury wise that's going to be able to save the season. We knew the offensive line was going to be an issue going into the season, but that, we now probably have 2 guys still starting that we projected have decent playing time. At season start, not starters, but playing time.
Yeah, let me ask you this: either one of you, how many of these offensive linemen came in through the portal?
As of right,
Let's see. You had Waywu, Spencer Brown, Hickman's not starting, so only 2 starters right now.
The projected starting lineup at the beginning of the year was going to be Jacob Sexton at left tackle, which was homegrown, recruited and developed. He is out for the rest of the season. The starting left guard was one of a couple different guys. One was a redshirt freshman, Heath Ozeta, and he just really couldn't press through. And because of a couple of injuries, they had to shift stuff around. Branson Hickman was the transfer in from SMU, and he got hurt before the beginning of the season. So we then rolled out another kid who was homegrown, and he didn't do too well. And then we got a guy back from injury midseason, and he played center. So we've played 3 different centers at this point. I guess 4 different centers at this point. Fabichi Waywu was from North Texas. He has been the only lineman to play all games this season. With him, he was an all-conference type of guy. It was somebody that if you bring him in and slide him in to an offensive line where you've got a good solid group of dudes, I think you get away with it. But if you bring him in and he is rotated out with 16, 17 different offensive linemen throughout the year, some of them are true freshmen, some of them are bad portal takes. He's just not going to be spectacular. And then the right tackle position was supposed to be Jake Taylor, which was homegrown. So it was 2 transfers and 3 homegrowns. And then, we had Spencer Brown come over from Michigan State. And he has been nowhere near functional. We had Michael Tarquin, who was a Florida guy, transferred to USC, had a bad year at USC last year. transferred to Oklahoma. He's currently dinged up, but he's been our most consistent and best offensive lineman that we've had all year long. So now you're just trying to find. I think that there's been a lot of fan base calling for freshman offensive guard Eddie Pierre Louis. He's number 55, kid out of Florida. If you go check up some of his videos, you see him senior year in track. This is offensive lineman at 300 pounds, winning a 100-meter dash for school track. I mean, he just looks like, bigger than the next three tallest or biggest kids on the track. So he has been a little bit of a mauler. He was a late arrival. People are ready to see him. We have Isaiah Autry-Dent, who was a kid who committed to Oklahoma over Ole Miss. So you guys can maybe take a little victory lap on that one. But his dad played with Steve McNair at Alcorn State. His mom played under Pat Summitt at University of Tennessee women's basketball and won a national championship. So he's got absolutely phenomenal DNA. But some of these kids, it's their turn to come out here and play because there's just not much left that you're playing for this year. You got to see what you really have in these kids now at the end of the season. That's a long rant for I don't even know if there was a question there.
No, you answered it. No, you answered it. It's good.
Well, I mean, it's your appearance on this show, mi casa, su casa.
Well, I tell you what, and this is what's, Coach Saban said before the beginning of the season, and you guys, heard the quote too, that he didn't think that Oklahoma was ready for the SEC play on the lines. I think that we've proven that to be completely false on the defensive side of the ball. Mm-hmm. And when you guys watch the defense, it'll be frustrating. It'll be frustrating to you because we don't have a guy who comes off the edge and is going to be a freak of nature like they've got with Dylan Stewart at South Carolina. There's not, you don't have an Aaron Donald type of interior guy. You just have hard, bust your ass, lunch pail guys on the defensive line, and they just don't move up front, whether it's DJ Terry or Jaden Jackson, who is a freshman, or Dominic Williams transferring from TCU. These guys, they just don't move. And so they're hard to move off the ball. So OU is going to have a really, big task on their hands this week with, not, keeping Jalen in the pocket and not letting him get on the outside, because that's when, he can really, cause some chaos. But it's a shame because I wish that you guys would get a chance to see this defense in a very, I guess in a competitive game, because it would be that type of game. If Oklahoma just had a functional offense, this would be a fun game this weekend. But as we've already covered that offense part, it's not extremely functional. And yeah, you guys, you're still going to get to see some pretty cool athletes, because again, this is a game where a lot of NFL scouts are going to be watching the tape, and they're going to want to see, what do OU's defensive tackles do up against Alabama's offensive line? What do the defensive backs do against, Ryan Williams? Yeah, I don't know if you guys know. He's 17. Did you guys know that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, making sure. I don't know if they've covered that anywhere. But, how do the defensive backs cover up with him? How do the linebackers move in space? This is a phenomenal linebacker crew led by Danny Stutzman. And I'd probably say that if you polled multiple Sooner fans, Kip Lewis is having a better year at linebacker. So, he's a guy who is going to be extremely disruptive, and it's just a good yeoman's defense. And then on offense, you're going to look at it and you're going to go, wait a second, where's this been all season? Don't worry, we're making every defense, we're making every defense look really, really good this year.
Yeah.
So we're at the
I don't know how to follow that up, because he's sitting here talking about Ryan Williams being 17 years old, and that is the one matchup I'm dreading this week, because I'm like, who are we going to put on Ryan Williams? Can I Walker? Woody Washington? Like, please, the Lord better, like, Jesus better give them all the power, because they ain't doing it this week. I don't even know if Eli Bowen can handle that task, and he's been one of our best corners. So...
Yeah, and Alabama's finding different ways to get the ball to Ryan Williams. And then, like it always works out, he's starting to create openings for other guys. Last week, I could not believe it. Seems like never, ever, ever have I, in the last several games I'd say last 2 or 3 years, Alabama's been throwing the ball on the tight end. I mean, we had our third string tight end catch a pass. So when he's pulling everybody his way or deep or back or even up when they're running that little jet sweep, that kind of thing, I mean, they're starting to fake off that and then throw back, and tight ends are getting lost there in the middle, and it's been quite interesting. I mean, I think we had 5 or 6 completions to our tight ends this against Mercer, and I'm starting to see Alabama do a lot of trapping underneath with the because of Jalen, and they're doing some interesting. It used to be the old counter trade typical traps, if you know what I'm talking about. But now they're kind of creating a version of the counter trade with Jalen Williams, and it's quite interesting. And that's been a good opening. They're getting a little bit more creative on offense. And the biggest thing with Alabama right now, I'm just going to tell you, they're getting better on defense. Start of the season, it was awful trying to knock people down, not throwing your arms and wrapping up. I've never understood the miracle of trying to knock somebody down instead of tackling the guy. And but anyway, we've gotten a little bit away from doing that crazy kind of stuff, and we were real handsy with our defensive backs. We've gotten a little better coverage with regard to them. They've got the penalty scenario cut down significantly. Still, I think we're still probably not dead last, but we're close to the bottom. But we have gotten it a little better with regard to that. So, it's Alabama's getting a little bit more creative with what they're doing.
Yeah. I'm interested to see the ones if you want some kind of like game plan of how I think Oklahoma could put something together, it would have to be somewhere along the lines of this. Is we've shown against Ole Miss, times in Missouri, and I'm not even going to throw out the main game, but the running game has started being more of a factor than it has all season. Now that being said, you take the best rushing defenses in the SEC, and we've already played them all up to this point. So LSU and Bama actually are the two of the lower teams on our schedule as far as rush defense. So if OU can put together some kind of an effort that keeps the ball, on the ground, keeps it moving, yes, you can still run some tempo if you get good yardage on first down, but it's what you can't do is leave the defense out there, because that's the defensive wise. I think it was Oklahoma rushing defensive efficiency. I think it's number 2 in the country. We were sharing it on one of our Discords. Just true rushing defensive efficiency, number 2 in the country. Passing was number 40, and that's because our offense has left our defense by themselves for multiple games at a time. And that's tough. So I think that if Oklahoma can somehow find some success, and I don't think Oklahoma needs to run for 350 yards or anything like that, but I think that if you could approach 200 yards, you keep yourself at a point where you keep Jalen Milroe and you keep that Alabama offense on the sideline. You have to win the battles that you have the opportunity to, and with the short passing game. Bauer Sharp is the leading receiver on this team. He's a lower division quarterback convert to tight end. He's had multiple issues blocking this year, but as a pass catcher, he's been the best option for this offense. So I think that's it. Is if you want to see Oklahoma, really have put themselves, in an opportunity to have a win or to make this game competitive, it's going to be they have to have some sustained running game happening in this game. And then you need receivers when they get the opportunities. Number one, they need to be seen by the quarterback. And number two, they got to catch the ball, because that's been a big issue too, is not drops just across the board, but just super, super ill-timed drops by the receivers has been a major factor this year for Oklahoma too.
Now we're at the point where we make our score predict. Well, I'll make my score prediction, and then we'll go to Preston and Eric and Johnny. I'm going to go ahead and say that this will be a 31-14 victory for Alabama. I don't know why, but it just feels right to me. Because, everybody brings their A game against Alabama. And, You know, the
And
running
Oklahoma.
game, huh?
And Oklahoma.
That's true. Everybody brings their A game against Alabama and Oklahoma.
Yeah,
And
very much.
there's the SEC title appearance. Like, we don't know if we'll make the title game or not, but anything can happen. But if we go 10-2, we make it to the playoffs, of course. And there's that bowl streak that's at stake for Oklahoma. So the last time that they missed a bowl was the John Blake era, the last year of it.
1998. Yep.
Yep. That was the year where the Big Lebowski was in theaters.
There you go. Mark it 8.
Yep. Let's go with Preston, man.
I think I said 45-14, right? Alabama.
Yes.
I think that's what I said. I think that's what I said. I don't know if I can pick Oklahoma to win this game. It's just they broke my heart one too many times this season.
Like Michael Corian be like, I know what you did. You broke my heart.
You broke my heart. Yeah, I like your score, Jackson. You know, that's kind of, you know, what I'm thinking is Oklahoma has had an effect starting with Tennessee this year. You saw it at Tennessee. You saw it with Ole Miss. It's hard to run away from Oklahoma. Like, the defense is really that good, and their spirits have not been broken yet. And that's heartbreaking for me a little bit, and just being close to a lot of the the players' parents but teams are the best way to play Oklahoma on offense is you tell your offense, hey, here's the thing. You just go out there and have some fun today, because you're just going to go out there and play. They're going to get some wins. We're going to get more opportunities, but no pressure is going to be on you today. And it is that frees a lot of teams up to endure. But as long as Alabama doesn't turn the ball over, and I would say Alabama would have to turn the ball over on offense 4 times to lose this game. Not 3, not 2, not 1. Like, it'd have to be like 4 times to lose this game, because we also can't score off of turnovers either. So typically we just give you the ball back. But I got to go with score wise, and it's not super sexy, but I think it's I had 31-17 Alabama. I think that Oklahoma, with the bye week, to pay attention, really get some scripted plays down. I don't know who's going to be available injury wise. We got 2 receivers back against Missouri, and then one of them got hurt again. And the other one has played multiple games, and so I don't know if he has the flu or needs to maybe start thinking about next year. But it's just gonna be a game where you're wondering why we can't continue to just do whatever we want. And but again, Oklahoma's defense hasn't seen anything like Jalen Milroe.
I kind of looked at it, kind of what we've all been talking about. I'm looking at third down percentages, and Oklahoma's defense is about, it's 35%. So you got, I don't know, which is very good, very good. I mean, if you can keep a team at third down conversion 45 or below, that's pretty good. And so so defensively, that's a good statistic, good place to be, getting teams off the field on third down. So then you go to offense, okay, and then third down on offense, Alabama is at about 50%, and that's where you want to be on offense, converting third down 50%. That's pretty good. You're going to win a lot of games. But then Oklahoma's offense is at 34% on third down, which means they don't have not a good betting chance to convert a third down opportunity. So what I'm looking at, you compare those right there, I think that's going to be indicator in the game. So I don't think Alabama's going to score a lot. So I'm going to look around 35, and I don't think Oklahoma – so I'm looking at Alabama 35. I don't think Oklahoma, based on their third down conversion, will score a lot. So I'm going to put it around 35-7.
Yeah, and Johnny, I'll tell you this. It started game 1 against Temple, who has already fired their coach. I think Oklahoma, PG, correct me if I'm wrong. We were at that game together. Oklahoma had their first down or third down conversion was a all dump the bench score at the end of the game. We scored I think third and goal. Preston says that his computer just crashed, so he's gone. But we went 1 for 12 that day, and we've had about that. That's hard to come back from 1 for 12. I mean, it takes a long season to become respectable. But guys, I just say there's so many issues on this Oklahoma team from the offensive side of the ball that I wish I could tell you that, if we got great quarterback play, this would be a competitive game. If we got great offensive line play, this would be a competitive game. If the guy coaching knows that he's not going to be here in 2 weeks as a coach at Oklahoma, if he could forget about that, it's going to be a competitive game. If we got help from the wide receivers, guys, again, like I mentioned, I went through and did kind of a stat dump at the beginning of the season, looking at all the production returning on offense. And even with Jackson Arnold being a first-year starter and only a couple games of playing time, Oklahoma was in the top 3 as far as returning production. And before the third game of the season, all the top 5 receivers were gone for the year. So you can't come back from that. You can't come back from that. And, it's hard. If I said, hey, listen, you guys got to go into Auburn and, let's go ahead and take away Ryan Williams and, I don't know, your top tight end, you would be like, well, hold on a second. That doesn't make me too comfortable. Now imagine that with like 3 other guys too. And so it's been a rough year, and this fan base is in a spot to where we're just hoping that it's a respectable game. And I promise you this, if it's a 1-score game, for a school that doesn't do moral victories, there'll be a lot of people that are happy and probably be bitching that we couldn't pull out the win, to be honest with you. So if it's a 1-score game, I think we'll have a lot of happy people.
And coach will keep his job.
Yeah, I don't think Brent Venables is going anywhere. I have listen. It's not 100% one way or the other type of situation. Like there are people who are. There's a lot of rumor going around that if LSU and Alabama were to really just take it to Oklahoma the next 2 weeks, he could get fired. Then there's a lot of people who are already having a conversation about they've had conversations with representatives from a lot of OCs and potential OCs. I think that we might know who Oklahoma's offensive coordinator is in the next 2 weeks. There's a good chance of that. And there's a lot of names being thrown out, guys that you're familiar with. You've got Craddock out of Tulane. He's been the OC down in Tulane. He's put together great offenses for the past several years. Oklahoma's played him with Darian Mensah this year. And Pratt, I can't remember his first name for the past couple years. And, they went down to USC and they beat USC in a New Year's Six bowl. So, I mean, it's a very, very big
Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, he's a big candidate. Also, Dan Mullen, who is currently,
cousin Eddie,
is currently hanging out in the broadcast booth, and there's a lot of people trying to put things together for him to be the new OC at Oklahoma. I thought that he might be waiting for more of an NFL, or not NFL, but a head coaching job, but I tell you what, here's what can definitely happen. You come to Oklahoma with what the defense will be, and you may put a functional offense together, and then year 2, it looks like it's humming. You are pretty much naming your destination at that point, because Oklahoma is going to have good defenses under Brent Venables. Now,
hey, Coop, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. I got a suggestion for you. Y'all go get Gus Malzahn.
Gus Malzahn.
I hated that guy at Alabama because he's so dang good. Now he's got a nutty wife. Now, whatever. Well, I'm playing.
I would say that. I would say this. There's there's a lot to it. I think that I think that we thought we could get away with a smooth transition to another Oklahoma guy that was on staff last year, and just not having a serious offensive coordinator search. We paid for it. Now, that being said, I think there's other people. The OC up in Oregon was a name being tossed around. The guys in Indiana who are going out and setting records. I said I wanted to see what that looks like, after this this game against Ohio State, before I get too excited about Shanahan. But there's a lot of people's names being tossed around there, and so you're going to get paid pretty handsomely, and you're going to have pretty much blank autonomy on the staff. Yeah, and here's the thing: is you got Bill Bedenbaugh, who has his best recruiting class ever, which is still holding true. Led by a couple 5-stars in Ryan Foje and Michael Fasusi. You've got a big guy named Darius Afalava out of Utah. Those kids, just those are maulers on the interior line. You got a center named Jake Hollenbeck out of Texas who is a wrestler. So this is a dude who is a true center. Reminds everybody of Creed Humphrey, who's now the highest paid center in the NFL for the Chiefs. And so as an OC, that's a big option, is you can roll in and have arguably the best offensive line coach there if you want him there. Emmett Jones, the receiver coach, has been doing a hell of a job recruiting wise and coaching wise, and he just got the injury bug. You can't really help that. I can't coach you out of tearing your ACL on a non-contact drill in the middle of fall practice. There's no coaching that gets us around those.
No. So you got a lot of issues with injuries. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Eric, what have you got going on your adventures at Unfair Sports this week?
Yeah, so we are going to do our show. We typically do Sunday nights and Wednesday nights. Sunday nights usually 6 p.m. Central Time. You ever want to come on? We do talk Oklahoma, but we also talk some recruiting stuff. Also talk other sports. Talk Oklahoma City Thunder. Obviously, that's a big topic around here since the Thunder now they're starting to kind of deal with some injuries. So that's maybe it's an epidemic here in Oklahoma right now. But I talk other sports, and then on Wednesday nights, usually at 8:00 p.m. Central, we go live, and so hop in and guys, jump in the chat. We got fans from all across the country that hop in. We've got Bama guys that hop in and are somewhat respectful. We've got Texas guys who want to talk actual football, and then you got Texas guys who just want to be trolls. And so if you want to come in and start some chaos, we always appreciate it.
I hope that some of those trolls, for their sakes, can be willing to take it, because I've always heard like mama and dad say you can dish it out, but are you willing to take it?
Yeah, and again, a lot of the talk about Oklahoma becoming the new Nebraska, and it's just a silly comparison. Nebraska left their recruiting homeland, which had been Texas. You quit playing all those teams down there. You don't have a recruiting base, and now you're trying to scrap through everybody that's in Wisconsin and Minnesota, and then the leftovers from Ohio, and that's where Nebraska went south. Also, just being the last team to want to move on from that option attack. When they finally got away from it, they were trying to recruit kids from around Nebraska and Wisconsin and try to be speedsters and speed merchants at receivers, and it just didn't work out. So they've got some good direction now, but get Oklahoma healthy and it'll be a better product.
I think Oklahoma will be fine for the future, because they're always going to have the Texas recruiting base. And as for Nebraska, I think all they really have to do is exploit the California recruiting base, and they're really good to go.
Well, listen, Lincoln Riley doesn't have California locked down, and most people don't even know that UCLA still has a program. But that's where Nebraska can make their wins, because Lincoln Riley, I think for 25 and 26, I think he's lost 75% of the top 10 players in California.
It feels like we're witnessing it just feels similar to Kevin Sumlin when he was at Texas A&M. Like, good lord.
Yeah, it is. And I think the thing with Sumlin,
former Oklahoma assistant coach, my bad.
No, he was too. He was OC here also. But Sumlin went down, and I think he had the program running pretty well. And then Johnny comes in, and you run your program completely different at that point for an individual who's causing chaos. And they've been fighting it up until this year. And so, I mean, I think that now with an adult head coach down there, you're finally seeing, a competent football program. They've had the talent. They just haven't had anybody to kind of point the arrow in the right direction.
Well, before we go, we'd like to mention that this Christmas season, you can always shop on Amazon using the link to support the voice of college football. You don't need to buy the product displayed. It doesn't cost you a penny. You get the same shopping experience, and you got the link down below. And I can tell you right now, for all those that love shopping at Amazon, you can always use that link right then and there. You help the voice of college football, and also you help yourself as well. And also, if you love top-notch college football content, go to the Voice of College Football X account, where you can get discussion, debate, analysis with no off-season. Oh, well, we're a fourth wall inside a 16th wall inside a 64th wall. Well, And there's magical shows like the Ohio State Buckeyes Primetime Show from our buddy Garrison and Ryan Stanos. And Sooners Live 158 from Miss Smith and Mr. Smith, as they will be the new host of Sooners Live on Oklahoma at the Voice of College Football. And we got our friend Adam Lamparello on Rutgers Live, Zach Remulus from Mizzou Live, Matthew Miller right here and now doing the Texas Live show, the 30th edition. Oh, there's our buddy Mark Rogers. There he is doing the first edition of the Big 12 Live show on Big 12 at the Voice of College Football. I can tell you it's a great one. And, of course, if you love top-notch benefits for Alabama at the Voice of College Football, come on in and become a YouTube member right here on the channel, where if you become a Crimson Faithful member for $2.99 a month, you can get a loyalty badge next to your name in the comments and in the live chat, and you can choose any emoji you want, and you get a shout out. And for $4.99 a month, you become a Saban disciple, and you get priority reply to the comments and access to monthly hangout with the host of Alabama with the Voice of College Football, and so much more. For $9.99 a month, you can connect on social media with us, and you can give out any content requests you want. That means interview requests, more recruiting news, anything you want, we will make sure we provide. We will not let sleet, snow, bad weather, tornadoes, bad internet. We're not going to let anything stop us. We will make sure we fulfill your request right here at Alabama, the Voice of College Football. With that being said, we wish you all a good night and sleep well and stay safe, stay warm. Have a happy Monday night. And we got our buddy Mark Rogers closing out the show with Voice of College Football Bets with Steve Merrill, Steve Dace, and Matt Zimick and friends.
College football is even more exciting with some action on the line. And the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Let's start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread. I've got a 40-year track record. In fact, in 2023, at $100 played per game, you would have netted over $9,300. And guess what? I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill, our ace in the hole, show stopper from Wager Talk. 6 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick, which went 21-5 against the spread the last 2 seasons. I repeat, 21-5 against the spread. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Steve Dace and Matt Zimick. Become a YouTube channel member or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2024 a winner now.